farmer in the Yucatán woke before dawn on the day the sun would vanish, and he knew exactly when it would happen. May 15th, 738 C. Capan in what is now Honduras. A man named Ix, we don't know his name, but he was not a priest, not a nobleman, stood in his milpa, the corn field that fed his family. The sky was ordinary. The sun climbed as it always did. But somewhere, a scribe in the city had marked the date in a codex. An eclipse would come. And Ix, a common farmer, had been told. Everyone thinks eclipse prediction was magic. It wasn't. It was arithmetic. The Mayan astronomical system was built on cycles, repeating patterns so precise they could forecast celestial events centuries in advance. No telescopes, no instruments beyond observation and memory, just numbers. The cycle they used was called the Tzolk'in, 260 days. It interlocked with the Hab, a 365-day solar calendar. When you combined them, you got the calendar round. 18,980 days before the pattern repeated. 52 years. Every 52 years, both calendars aligned again. But there was another cycle hidden inside these cycles. The eclipse cycle. The Mayan astronomers, usually priests, but their knowledge filtered down, observed that eclipses followed a pattern called the saros. Every 123 lunations, roughly. Every 18 years and 11 days, an eclipse would return to nearly the same location in the sky. The Mayan codices recorded these intervals obsessively. The Dresden Codex, one of only 4 pre-Columbian Mayan books to survive Spanish conquest, contains eclipse tables. 69 eclipse predictions spread across pages. They tracked lunar eclipses for centuries. The mathematics worked. Now, here's what matters for Ix, the farmer. He didn't read the codex. He couldn't, but the priest did. The priest knew the dates, and the priest told the community when an eclipse was coming, because an eclipse wasn't just a curiosity, it was a crisis. The Mayan cosmology held that eclipses were dangerous moments. The sun was being attacked. Jaguars or demons were devouring it. If the sun didn't return, if the eclipse never ended, the world would end with it. This wasn't metaphor. This was understood as physical risk. So when the priest announced an eclipse was coming, the community prepared. They fasted. They made offerings. They performed rituals designed to restore the sun. Ix would have known this was coming because someone in authority told him. The sacred and the mundane converged in his daily life. What's remarkable isn't that the priests predicted eclipses. It's that the system worked well enough that they could tell ordinary farmers when to expect them. Knowledge cascaded downward. The astronomer priests weren't hoarding secrets for power. They were distributing information that mattered for survival. The Mayan observation period stretched back centuries. By the Classic period, roughly 250 to 900 CE, they had accumulated enough data to make accurate predictions. They weren't guessing. They were extrapolating from patterns they'd documented for generations. How did they track the data without writing it down constantly? Memory, trained memory. Mayan scribes memorized vast sequences of dates and astronomical intervals. The codices were reference texts, not primary records. The knowledge lived in people's minds. When the eclipse actually came, when the moon slid in front of the sun at the predicted moment, it wasn't magic. It was confirmation. The system worked. And for Ix, standing in his field, the sun returned. The world continued. His understanding of reality shifted slightly. The priests knew something real. This is what we often miss about ancient civilizations. We focus on pyramids and kings. We miss the moment when a farmer's child asks, "Will the sun come back?" And the father says, "Yes." The priests have counted it. It will return at this hour. That's not superstition. That's applied mathematics filtering down to the person who needs to know. The Mayan astronomical tradition didn't survive the Spanish conquest. The codices were burned. The knowledge networks were broken, but for nearly 2 millennia it worked. Farmers knew when the sky would darken because someone had done the math. When archaeologists later decoded the Dresden Codex in the 20th century, they were stunned. The eclipse predictions were accurate, sometimes off by only a few hours across centuries. The Mayan astronomers had done something modern science would take until the 1600s to reliably accomplish. But they did it not for glory, not for publication or peer review. They did it because their calendar system demanded it, because their cosmology required them to understand the cycles, and because a farmer in the Yucatán needed to know when the sun would vanish. That's the story we don't tell. Not the triumph of the elite, but the quiet transfer of knowledge to the person it actually mattered for. The sacred made mundane, the mathematical made personal. Ix woke before dawn. He knew what was coming. And that knowledge, traced backward, came from centuries of counting. Subscribe for more forgotten stories from ordinary people in ancient civilizations. The moments when the sacred and everyday collided.